The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, is setting the record straight and striking back against Donald Trump yet again on his threats of tariffs and his lies about a new phone call he said he had with Sheinbaum. Sheinbaum clearly has been studying Donald Trump's pathology, and she's been preparing how you deal with Donald Trump and people who have that malignant narcissism. And so watch this sequence of events. You know, from our earlier reporting, last week, Donald Trump threatened a 25% blanket tariff on our closest trading partners, Canada and Mexico. Mexico, through its president, Claudia Sheinbaum, immediately responded, saying that they will issue retaliatory tariffs and make America feel pain if America wants to make its top trading partner, Mexico, feel pain. Claudia Sheinbaum did that in a letter and a speech that we covered here on the MeidasTouch network. Thereafter, Donald Trump and Sheinbaum had a phone call earlier this week. And then as soon as that phone call was over, Donald Trump posted that basically he got everything he wanted. Effectively, the border is closed and everything's been solved right after having that phone call. And then Claudia Sheinbaum responded by saying, I have no clue what you're talking about. Nothing is different than what I said in the prior letter where I called you out for all of the lies that you've been making about Mexico. For example, there are no migrant caravans anymore. Mexico has been working in cooperation with President Biden to definitely stem the flow of migrants into the United States. And in the previous letter to Donald Trump, she explained that Mexico is actually not the consumer of synthetic drugs. 99% of consumption of synthetic drugs in the United States are coming from Americans, and most of the people trafficking these synthetic drugs into the United States are Americans, or it's coming from Asian countries. And so she set the record straight in this social media post right away, because she knows that Donald Trump does his lack of governing, let's call it, via social media. So here's what went down. Remember, they had the phone call, then Donald Trump posted the following. Just had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States and also U.S. consumption of these drugs. It was a very productive conversation. He then also says Mexico will stop people from going to our southern border, effective immediately. This will go a long way towards stopping the illegal invasion of the USA. Thank you. And then he also posts, I will be working on a large-scale United States advertising campaign explaining how bad fentanyl is for people to use, millions of lives being so needlessly destroyed. By the time the campaign is over, everyone will know how really bad the horror of this drug is. I mean, look, lots of people have been talking about how horrible these drugs are, and lots of money has been spent to educate people. That's not being effective. But anyway, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, responds and says what really went down in the conversation with Donald Trump. And she goes, in our conversation with President Trump, and again, notice it's not my, in our conversation, because she represents Mexico, and there are other people in Mexico. It's not I with her. She goes, in our conversation with President Trump, I explained to him the comprehensive strategy that Mexico has followed to address the migration phenomenon, respecting human rights. Thanks to this, migrants and caravans are assisted before they reach the border. Again, this is all happening right now, before Donald Trump threatened the tariffs. This has been going on under the Biden administration. It goes on to say, we reiterate that Mexico, this is what she says in her social media post, we reiterate that Mexico's position is not to close borders, but to build bridges between governments and between peoples. Now, Elon Musk immediately responded on social media to spread lies and to spread disinformation, and then he amplified it. For example, this Eric Dougherty account, which often spreads a lot of disinformation, writes, Breaking. Mexican president announces she is stopping the migrant caravans from arriving at the U.S. southern border after Trump's tariff threat. The announcement came only 12 hours later. And then Elon Musk, who amplifies that on his platform, goes, "Great!" And again, this is all happening already. As we've reported before, border crossings are now down to lower levels than when even Trump was in office under Biden. What President Biden did, perhaps he shouldn't have done, was he spent some time trying to do a bill, trying to negotiate a bill with Republicans, a bipartisan border deal. But the Republicans blocked it, so he had to take executive action, which he did, and then border crossings declined. I think it's also important to note in this conversation that when Donald Trump threatens these tariffs against Mexico and Canada, what Donald Trump is doing is he's threatening to breach the trade deal that he negotiated and that his administration touts as this great thing. Remember the free trade agreement that was in place since 1994 before the Trump administration was NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. But Donald Trump renegotiated that because he had to get his hands on it and he wanted to rename it so it would be his rather than just kind of amend it. And it probably needed amended and updating. So what Donald Trump negotiated was the USMCA. His administration negotiated that, the agreement between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, which set the terms of the free trade relationship. So here's, just so you can see, I mean, here's a video of Donald Trump signing the deal. You see him next to former President Nieto of Mexico. You see him next to Trudeau there as well in that photo. As I said, I like to not show Donald Trump's face or these videos, so that's why I'm showing it in this format. But this is Donald Trump's deal. So by threatening to impose the tariffs, what is he doing? He's threatening to breach his own deal. And when he complains about the relationship, oh, Mexico's taking advantage of us, Canada's taking advantage of us, it's quite literally his deal. The USMCA is the deal. And so we see here with Donald Trump as well what he was trying to do, which is, he threatens these tariffs and then he wants to then go on social media, lie, claim that he's doing these things that are already done, and then claim that there's conversations that take place that really didn't happen in the way Trump says it did, because Trump lies, and then say, look, problem solved, I'm going to go golfing now. And what I like is that these world leaders, in protecting their sovereignty and the dignity of their country, are pushing back against that. Now, we previously posted the letter, and I read the letter of President Sheinbaum of Mexico. You can go back and watch other videos to see everything that she said in the letter, but let me just show you this clip of what she said shortly after Donald Trump threatened to impose the tariffs. Here, play this clip.
A un arancel vendrá otro en respuesta, y así hasta que pongamos en riesgo empresas comunes, sí, comunes. Por ejemplo, de los principales exportadores de México a Estados Unidos son General Motors, Stellantis y Ford Motor Company, las cuales llegaron a México hace 80 años. ¿Por qué ponerle un impuesto que las ponga en riesgo? No es aceptable y causaría a Estados Unidos y a México inflación y pérdidas de empleo.
Creo que nos vamos a poner de acuerdo. Yo tengo la visión de que va a haber un acuerdo con Estados Unidos y con el presidente Trump. Pero si ponemos en el centro la coordinación, la colaboración para poder atender de manera profunda el fenómeno migratorio, el problema de la crisis humanitaria que tienen en Estados Unidos por el consumo de fentanilo, pues entonces se va a atender de manera integral. Por eso digo, además de la carta, vamos a buscar una llamada para que nos sentemos lo más pronto posible.
Now also, President Biden is responding as well. He was in Nantucket over the weekend, or over the holidays rather, and he said, I hope Trump really rethinks this tariff plan because Canada and Mexico are our allies. Here, play this clip.
I think it's a counterproductive thing to do. You know, look, one of the things you've heard me say before that we have an unusual situation in America. We're surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and two allies, Mexico and Canada. And the last thing we need to do is begin to screw up those relationships.
I just find it notable as well that Donald Trump goes after our allies first, right? You haven't heard him say anything negative about Putin or really anything negative about those who wish us harm. But his first move is to go and attack Mexico and Canada and then lie about the conversation that he had with President Sheinbaum. And by the way, let's check in. What is J.D. Vance doing while all of this is taking place? J.D. Vance is posting memes of himself as Donald Trump's wife. Yeah, that's what J.D. Vance is. I guess he's posing as a trad wife to Donald Trump and serving turkey for Donald Trump. It's just a very bizarre, very strange meme right there. Here's Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Here's what she has to say, Democratic Congresswoman, friend of the MeidasTouch Network. Here, play the clip.
The fact that we have Americans that are waking up and saying, wait a minute, are you saying that tariffs are going to negatively impact me? Are you saying that we're going to have to pay for this? It's kind of like that wall that we're still waiting on Mexico to build, right? That they're going to pay for it. No, we're going to pay for it. We're going to be the ones that are suffering. And for those that thought that inflation was bad, even though it has come down, even though that it is honestly, cooled off here a lot quicker than it cooled off in the rest of the world, let me just tell you, it's time to buckle up, Buttercup, because it is about to be on and popping if for some reason he gets half of this done. And right now, looking at the henchmen that he is trying to put into his administration, we are on track to see a lot of these negative things impact our economy.
So there you have it. You've got President Sheinbaum of Mexico once again setting the record straight and, letting everybody know that these things are already happening. And if Donald Trump's going to impose tariffs based on lies, Mexico's prepared to inflict pain. And you heard her in the video where she mentions General Motors, Stellantis, Ford, and she could have gone and named a bunch of other companies that have big factories in Mexico. She said, okay, you want to inflict pain on American companies by trying to inflict pain on Mexico? Pain on Mexico? Okay, we're ready. We're ready. Or we can engage in mutual dialogue, to which Donald Trump then goes on social media and goes, we did it, we're good, we're good. Judge for yourself. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million together. Thanks for watching.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.